Let's try this.
Here I go! Mugen Souls, a ghost from JRPG's past, 11 years ago to be exact, has now come to haunt us on the Nintendo Switch all these years later. This is a game that was not really well received when it was released on the PS3 back in 2012, however it was able to gather a bit of a cult following and even spawned a sequel, Mugen Souls Z, that came out less than 2 years later. But yes, here we are, a very old video game that doesn't seem to have evolved much at all, though I guess the original North American release had some censorship and this version is uncensored. It's a dark time when you have to turn to the Nintendo Switch for an uncensored version of a game. How the times have changed. Explaining Mugen Souls is going to be a royal pain in the ass, and without question I won't be able to go over everything, but here's my shot at breaking things down. Players are greeted to a lovely opening anime cutscene when they begin the game, which has a rockin' theme supporting it. And from here you can check out the options, which allow you to adjust sound levels, change camera speeds, invert cameras, skip animations, thank God, and that's about it. Mugen Souls is broken up into 7 worlds, all represented by a color. Each world acts independently, however 𝐥𝐤𝐤 has different ideas and wants to essentially rule over each and every one of these worlds by turning everyone into her peons. This sets you off on your quest for world domination, which involves anime singing and dancing, a ridiculously confusing and convoluted combat system, and a cast of characters that I honestly couldn't care less about. The game has plenty to say, as there are hours of dialogue scenes that drag on for what feels like an eternity at times, but none of these characters are very interesting, nor is the overall plotline. The game's attempts at humor usually revolve around some dude walking in on naked girls taking a bath in a hot spring, or other little sexualized jokes that at this point have been done better. Nothing against anime boobs or crude humor, but if I want that stuff I can find it far easier than digging through the 30+ hours of Mugen Souls' poorly written script and dialogue. Alright, so the story isn't all that interesting or funny, and the characters didn't do much for me, but how is the combat, you ask? Equal parts ambitious and really quite messy. This game will throw so much at you during its first 2 hours that your head will want to explode. As you enter your first battle, 𝐥𝐤𝐤's partner Peon will attempt to explain Mugen Souls' many systems. You can freely move your characters within a designated area and from here perform various actions. You have standard attacks, skills that will cost you PP, items from healing and such. You can switch characters, defend, and of course try to run away. Oh, I said PP. Hee. Sounds pretty basic, right? Well, Mugen Souls really loves to muck things up. Lady 𝐥𝐤𝐤 also has what's known as a �Mo This has you relying on charming enemies and transforming them. You can change them into either peons or items. If you screw up, however, this will make your enemies mad as hell and more powerful, so you gotta be careful. This �Mo system is really quite silly. It involves you selecting different phrases. These will hopefully make your enemies happy, and that's how you succeed. Each enemy has its own unique set of emotions, and I could go further with this, but just know it's a cobbled mess and really not that fun at all. The game isn't done there. You have peon balls to toss. There are strategic ship battles, which kind of play out like the �Mo system. There's team-up attacks, transformations, blast-off attacks. More and more systems continue to be introduced, and unfortunately, none of them are really fun. This game throws so much information at the player that, for me anyways, it just made me want a more traditional turn-based system. I commend the ambition for wanting to try new things, but Mugen Souls just ends up feeling sloppy and confusing. Outside of the combat and ship battles, you're free to explore your ship where you can buy items, and from there you blast off to new worlds. You can explore these worlds for treasures and advance the story forward, getting stronger and taking down bosses along the way. You can also create peons, and again, there's just so much more going on. You'll want to seek out a GameFAQs or wiki or something just to try and comprehend everything, and that's really if you're determined to play this game at all. Thankfully, in this case, the game is old as hell, and there are plenty of older guides written, so they'll still apply to this version. The open exploration, well, doesn't really feel all that open. You do have a very basic map and plenty of random encounters to get through, but you'll also hit your share of invisible walls. There are treasures to be collected, but the game feels very linear with markers for advancing story, so you'll never feel all that lost to the game's credit. Visuals in Mugen Souls are, well, also old. This is a PS3 release from 2012, and little to no work has been done. On your ship and in the overworld, framerate hits aren't uncommon, which is pretty sad when you consider how much time it's been and how low-res the textures and environments look. The game is pretty fugly, though to its credit again, some of the team-up attack animations are amusing the first couple of times, and the portrait art isn't all that bad if you're into anime. I enjoy anime art, but it's a real shame that this port was more or less just shat out onto the Switch with no visual or performance improvements whatsoever. You'll even still have long load times, just painful on a technical level in 2023. I suppose one could argue that you can play the game in handheld mode now, but with the Switch having such a large library of Japanese role-playing games to choose from, why would you bother? The game looks and runs just as poorly playing handheld. In fact, in my brief time testing that mode out, the frame rate felt even worse somehow. At least the audio design in Mugen Souls is pretty decent, with some cool anime vocal themes and great rockin' riffs and melodies. I enjoyed the soundtrack for what it is, and you do have the option for the English or Japanese voice acting. The English acting isn't completely dreadful, but if you aren't into very high-pitched voices doing quite a bit of yelling, you might not be all that into it. But overall, sound design here is serviceable. Between the messy combat, however, the long, obnoxious story segments, and the middling exploration, Mugen Souls definitely feels its age, but also, I'm not sure I would have found this game fun even back when it released. There were better options. I love a good JRPG, but with so many better games to choose from, it's really hard to find a compelling reason to recommend this one. I'd personally leave Mugen Souls back in 2012 where it belongs. This game releasing on the Switch in 2023 really had me wondering, who asked for this?
My turn! Take this!
Thank you so much for supporting clickbait-free independent content here on YouTube. Remember to hit the like button and subscribe to help us bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming, and be sure to check out patreon.com/𝐦𝐨𝐬𝐵𝐷𝐸, where we can together defeat the gaming echo chamber.